what happened was I walked into the traffic control center one day, and man, when I tell you I got bit by the bug, they let me press a button to hold the light green, and I was like, what? You can do this? This is real? And so ever since then, I've been locked in on traffic.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Pulse podcast from Wavetronics. Today we have a very special guest coming to you from our Georgia office, Warren Lee III from Tori Engineering. We appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
Tori is a firm known for delivering innovative solutions across complex infrastructure and engineering projects. Warren brings a decade of experience in civil and transportation engineering, and he's played a key role in shaping projects that impact communities, improve safety, and push the boundaries of sustainable design. So that's quite the intro. Sounds like you're quite the guy, and you've had an interesting experience in transportation.
Yes.
Let's look back. Tell me how this career path started for you.
So I'd have to say it started in high school. So I had a high school professor. He taught physics. That was my first introduction to physics, and I absolutely loved it. But the problem was I was not the best of students at all. And so luckily, he was honest with me. Mr. Watts, he was honest. Like, hey, you know, in order for you to go on and pursue a career in physics, you're going to have to go get a doctorate. You're not the school type of person, so maybe you should look at something else. And that something else was civil engineering. So it worked out really good. I enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it. Enjoyed it all the way through college. I went off to the military, and I was first an air crewman and then became a engineer aide, and that solidified it for me. I got to do a lot of the hands-on construction stuff, the surveying stuff, working with the design for the engineers produced and stuff like that. And I absolutely enjoyed that too. And so when I got off active duty, it was no question like, hey, I'm doing civil engineering and here we are. Yep.
That's awesome. Thanks for your service,
yes,
by
sir.
the way.
Yes, sir.
So if you look back to those high school days, I mean, it wasn't that you didn't have the mind for this, right? Because you got to be pretty smart to be in engineering. Was it just mindset?
So I think the main thing was, so I didn't have much direction, right? I was one of those kids that some would call, at-risk youth. And, and it's not that we're just missing some direction, some guidance, and sometimes that's what we need. And for me, I didn't have that at the time. And so it was easy for me to stray away from the things that could literally impact my life, right? Which is my education, right? And so now whenever I get the opportunity to talk to kids, like that's what I'm always hitting home on. Like education can literally change your life, right? And so when I finally had that realization, it clicked for me. It was all in. It's like I ended up making the dean's list and all that stuff, man.
That's amazing. Yeah. So just a complete 180 for you.
Complete 180.
And you can thank that high school teacher. Did you have any other mentors that made a big impact?
Early on, yeah, we had a couple of them, but I think the biggest mentors I've had they've been throughout my career. A couple guys here, Jeff Legg, D. Taylor, like those are the guys that I've worked under, and they've helped me a lot. Chris Waters, I can go on and on and on, but yes, I mean, I was exposed to traffic when I first started working in my career. I was working in the city of Johns Creek doing roadway design and like small project design, sidewalk, turn lane extensions, and all that stuff. And which was pretty cool because I had my manager, Cindy Jenkins. She was awesome. She's like a little mighty, sweet but mighty person, And so her whole thing was like, you're going to design and you're going to actually see this project through to construction, which was awesome. So I got a lot of experience there. But what happened was I walked into the traffic control center one day. And man, when I tell you I got bit by the bug, they let me press a button to hold the light green, and I was like, what? You can do this? This is real? And so ever since then, I've been locked in on traffic. And that's like my bread and butter. That's what I love to do the most. And then, I got introduced to other guys throughout the time of working in traffic. And so signal timing really became like what I really enjoyed the most. I like to consider it like, you have a big ball of boiled spaghetti noodles, and they're all like tangled up and stuff. And our timing, our optimization work help straighten out all of those noodles. That's kind of how I explain it to people that don't really know what's going on. But yeah, ever since I got bit by that traffic bug, I've been locked in.
And if you want an area of the country that will teach you all about timing and optimization, it's Atlanta, right?
Yes, absolutely. We have our fair share of bottlenecks for sure, as I'm sure everyone has heard. But then there's always just things going on, from incident management due to emergency response stuff, vehicular accidents, whatever, school times, and then we have sporting events like the Super Bowl. We have SEC championship every year. Then now we have the FIFA World Cup coming up. So it's just always, this is a busy place, and our summer times are absolutely insane. So it is a great place to learn the ins and outs of traffic and transportation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a busy place with a lot of traffic, but imagine what it would be like without optimization and proper signal timing.
Yes,
Crazy.
Yes, absolutely, man. And I think a lot of people, so I consider it a thankless job, right?
Yeah.
You have to like it. You have to love, one, serving the public, and you have to love getting in the nitty-gritty details about what you're doing, right? And so our greatest reward is, yes, hearing a thank you from the public. Whenever that does come through, that's awesome, right? But then also when we look at that data, those metrics to see how we've improved the flow, the travel time, we can see that we've saved X amount of dollars per motorist per average commute, things like that. Like, awesome. Like, we're actually making a difference and we can see it. I love it. And I absolutely love driving down the road, and I've retimed the corridor and I hit green. Like, man, that's the stuff that gets me excited.
Yeah, that's a beautiful feeling. So as principal engineer at Tori, what's a day in the life like for you?
So now it's sales. So I think I've been blessed with a good gift of being able to talk to people and make conversations personable, and I feel like I've been blessed with that ability, And so while I do enjoy the technical side of things, I also enjoy going out and talking to people, building relationships, and seeing how we could benefit people, and how we could benefit not only our clients but our tax-paying citizens, right? So civil engineering, a lot of times, dollars that are used to fund us come from tax dollars, right? And so how we could best benefit our citizens around our community, and keeping safety at the forefront. So, so now it's calls. Sometimes we take potential clients out to lunch just to talk to them, get to know them, tell them some of the services that we offer and how we could benefit them, help them ease their pain points. But then I also dabble in the technical side from time to time. I do a lot of reviewing, so we have a couple other guys that are on the team, and I do review stuff. So one engineer will do the design, whatever that design is, and then another one reviews. And that's our standard practice. And so I still get my feet wet in the technical part of it, but a lot of it is talking.
That's an outstanding skill set that you bring to sales, though.
Yeah.
Because not all salespeople have your engineering background. So
Correct.
That's got to make a difference with certain clients, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I think the biggest thing is the trust, right? So being able to build that rapport and trust with our clients, I think you have to be able to communicate effectively, but then also be able to take the technical jargon out of it and just have a conversation, and that's one of the things I try to do the most. And so, yes, it does benefit us.
So Tori's worked on some really cool projects over the years. Can you explain some of them that you've been involved with?
Yeah, so we're typically a sub to like the bigger firms, and then so they'll give us a piece of whatever the overall project is. Like, hey, we would like you guys to tackle this part or do this part. I'd be biased if I said something along the lines of traffic signal timing and optimization operations, obviously, but those are always cool contracts to be on because that's what I like the most, and that's what I can see the most results in. But then also, I really like the ones where we worked on the cycle tracks because I'm a cyclist myself. And so being able to see our infrastructure improve with not only pavement marking or roadway widening, adding bike lanes, but then we'll also introduce the traffic signal portion of it. You go to different countries and sometimes you can see bicycle head at the intersection. But now, as we see that more and more here locally, that's been something that's been pretty awesome to see. And so some of those projects have definitely been awesome. So, adding the cycle tracks along Memorial Drive, that's been an awesome one to be a part of. I do like doing some safety projects, just because, you can see how it impacts people's lives, like especially when we're talking about vulnerable road users. So from pedestrians to cyclists, like things like that, that's awesome. Yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges you think Tori or any engineering firm faces today in this day and age?
I would think the gap between the technology and the infrastructure, right? I feel like technology, we're always pushing the boundaries. We're always coming up with new things and coming out with new things, and we test, implement. This is great. We're going to use this going forward. But then sometimes we don't have the infrastructure that can keep up with that technology. And then vice versa. There's not a situation where everything works for the particular location, intersection location, or roadway geometry. But however, for the most part, it's typically the infrastructure lagging behind the technology. And so that's kind of like one of the biggest pain points. It's like, if we just had this much more space, or if we just told the developer, hey, if you're going to come in and develop this piece of property, you need to make improvements around whatever their property. So those type of things, I would think that's the biggest pain point, the gap between the technology and the infrastructure.
Because you're looking 10, 20, 50 years down the road.
Exactly. And if you have a city like Atlanta where our population is now in the top 10 across the U.S., and it's projected to be in the top 5 within the next 10 years, so stuff like that, right? So we have more and more people coming, but there's only so much space, right? And so we really have to dial in, one, updating the existing infrastructure that we do have, but then also, two, continuing to develop top-tier technology to help us improve.
Yeah, because as you drive around the country, I mean, some of the infrastructure is so old.
Yes.
It's crazy. And you open up a traffic signal cabinet and it's amazing what you can see there.
Yep,
So how do you balance that innovation and technology with this aging infrastructure?
So it's a quote from Arthur Ashe. He says, "You may not be where you want to be, but we do the best with what we have, always," right? And so that's the approach we have. Just whatever we have, whatever is available to us, within obviously budgeting reasons, but whatever's available to us, let's just do the best we can with what we have, and that's the approach, right? So from various things, like I said, I'm a cyclist, right? And so sometimes we ride up to an intersection and there's no detection for a cyclist, so you have to get off the bike or scoot over there and press the ped button to get your green, right?
And then the ped button disrupts everything, right? And their timing's out the window at that point.
Exactly. So I think various things. Sorry, what was your question?
How you balance innovation with aging infrastructure.
Okay, yeah. Yes.
And you had that great Arthur Ashe quote. Are you a tennis fan?
Yeah, I am a tennis fan.
My man.
And my daughters started playing
Nice.
about 3 or 4 years ago, and I've been locked in ever since.
Sweet.
It's a great way for us to spend time together. My whole family is playing now, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I really enjoy watching my kids grow and play. And there's so many principles you can extract from sports, and specifically tennis, right? Think about any other sport that you're out there as a solo person, right?
Yeah.
And somebody's trying to go at you, Golf is definitely difficult. I will not take that away from golf, but I think tennis is unique, being that someone is going at you, and you're trying to go back at them. And so there's so many principles that can be extracted from that can literally take us throughout life. And that's what I always try to explain to my kids and then all the other kids that I know that play sports and stuff.
Yeah, because you're playing the game and you're trying to play the game as good as you possibly can with all the fundamentals. But then you got this person attacking you, right?
And they're trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, so we could veer off to a whole tennis tangent if we want to, but we probably shouldn't. So sustainability is on everybody's mind. How do you balance that in what you do?
I think one of the ways that I like to look at sustainability is what can we do to preserve what's here? Do we really need to redo the whole intersection? Do we really need to, if this span wire is working fine, do we really need to take this down and add mast arms? Yes, that is prettier. Yes, it does look better. Yes, it may be a little more stable when it comes times of storms and stuff like that. But if it's not necessary, let's just put those dollars to something else that really needs it. So I like to preserve what's there if I can, but then also, being honest, right? So I don't want to overspend on something that doesn't bring the value, right? The value add. We could go out and build an intersection for $500,000, but is it truly going to add value to the area? Not just the intersection, but the surrounding area and the citizens that will use it. So that's one of my ways to tackling sustainability.
Yeah, you work with what you've got, like Arthur Ashe said, and I mean, I've interviewed D. Taylor before, who you mentioned, and he's like, here in Atlanta, we're kind of built out. He says God's not going to bless us with any more lanes, so we got to optimize what we've got.
Yep, absolutely, man. D. Taylor, he's one of the godfathers of traffic, man. He probably will humbly turn that title down, but he's awesome, man. I've learned a lot from him working under him. He's really good with clients, and he's very, very sharp with traffic signals. And so whenever I have a question, I always ask him. I worked under him for like 6+ years, man. And so it was always a lot of learning, and he'd push me like, hey, no, man, you got it. Just go. He'd push me and challenge me, and that's what you want, right? As somebody that's up and coming, a new engineer, like you think you know a lot, but it's like you also don't know a lot. So you're kind of trying to figure out your way, find what you like, and he's always one of those guys that would definitely push me and make me work a little harder, man. And I absolutely enjoyed that.
Yeah, he's a great guy to have as a mentor. Have you seen his collection of traffic artifacts and all that stuff?
Yes. He sent plenty of pictures. Got to go by his house and check it out, man. It's definitely a museum.
Yeah, talk about a guy who's passionate about traffic, like you.
Yeah,
it looks like it's rubbed off.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's just always so. One of the reasons I like working with him is because he has like those intricate, or just those little details that a lot of people wouldn't think about. So a lot of times you may look at operations of a traffic signal as simple, right? But when we talk about a whole network and what we can do to individual approaches, individual lanes in this whole network, he's always like turning the dial, thinking about all this stuff. And, one of my favorite lessons from him was working with operating signals in free mode, right? So where we're taking our volume density and fine-tuning it all the way down to a second to maximize the efficiency of an intersection. And I've had crazy ideas, and he's like, try it out.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. Go for it. Do it. Okay. Well, that didn't work, but here's something that you can try. Did you look at this? And it's like, I would have never thought about that, but I'm happy I know you.
Yeah. And that's where engineering is not just a static line, I know engineering. This is what we do. It's ever changing. How is technology and innovation changing engineering?
I think it's pushing it to some of the best places that it's ever been. I really believe that. And I'm talking more specifically from like a hardware standpoint of technology. So I like hardware. Mm-hmm. So for things like, obviously the Wavetronics unit, and then the new Expanse software, like stuff like that, all that stuff, being able to utilize all these new technologies definitely helps. And then being able to individually track cars through these zones and stuff like that, I think it's getting more and more crispy. It's getting more and more accurate, even out to distances that we thought we'd never get. That's always awesome. And then the technology of communications, right? So being able to utilize peer-to-peer situations where we have one signal talking to another signal because this is happening down here. Or we utilize user logic, which is some logic programming based on whatever parameters we program. Hey, can we make this signal do this because this incident happened? So technology is like really helping us automate those routine tasks, but then also helping us push the push the envelope forward when we're talking about how can we further improve a network. And like you said, there's not much space left in Atlanta, right? And so we have to lean on technology to help us overcome that infrastructure lacking that we have here in Atlanta. But yeah, so I think things like if we could take our technology to also include some of the vulnerable roadway users. So if we have sensors that can also detect cars, but then also peds and cyclists, I think you would start with cars and cyclists first, right? But things like that. If we could improve our technology to take it to the next level, I think we're headed for a really, really great path.
So that next level, what do you think is going to be? Let's look 30 years in the future. You're looking back on this amazing career that you've had. What do you hope commuting around Atlanta will look like?
I would hope that we have updated infrastructure, obviously. But if we had updated, traffic signals and more safety features, simple things like back plates with reflective tape around them, things like that. But then also, I think as our ITS improves, we could minimize the amount of devices to get the same results. If we could do something like that, I think that one ties into the sustainability of it, but then also two, that preserves capital that we could deploy other places. So I'm hoping that we get to more of that approach. Like instead of us having a bunch of loops at an intersection, can we get 2 devices that could detect the whole intersection? Maybe 1, if we could push it that far, things like that, right? So how can we minimize the amount of devices, but yet still get the same results, if not better, right? Because we do want to get better.
What detection technology do you like?
Not to toot you guys' horn, but I love Wavetronics.
We love hearing that, but yeah, you don't have to say that.
But yeah, so loops, it's hard to beat loops. They're cheap, they're effective, they do the job right until like something happens, potholes or resurfacing, whatever it is, right? But especially in the South, we don't have snow plows and stuff like that. So, we don't necessarily have to worry about a snow plow tearing up the loops and stuff like that. So that's awesome. But I do like Wavetronics. I do like how we have these sensors and we can create a zone for our setback detection, and we can create also a zone on that same sensor to have some stop bar detection. So at nighttime, when I want to run the signal free, I can get a more snappier operations because I don't have to hold it for so long for a car to get from way back there in the setback to up here, just things like that. And then also, I like the accuracy in Wavetronics. We've tried other radar detection devices in the past, and as well as video. You have issues with video, shadows and snow. If you guys snow, rain sometimes can throw it off, but I like how Wavetronics is pretty consistent for us, and it's accurate. Like I said, man, it's very accurate. We've tested out the XP21 here at an intersection here locally, and that was pretty awesome to see that we're literally moving in the direction of minimizing the devices.
One device, yeah.
To one device, right? So stuff like that, man. I like how you guys are pushing it forward, pushing the line forward to improve. And I do like how you all are open to feedback, right? So yeah, you guys develop it, design it, test it, but then once you deploy it, we're now the testers.
You guys are the boots on the ground.
Yeah,
we need to know
Absolutely.
from you.
And we need to know from our technicians how easy or difficult this thing is to troubleshoot. We need to know from our metrics how accurate this thing is capturing data. And 2, we need to know how accurately it's detecting cars or whatever the user is, right? And so I like that this office is definitely open to all of our feedback, and which is pretty cool, man.
Yeah, very, very cool. So as a leader, how do you mentor and inspire young engineers who you cross paths with?
So I always ask them a question, like, what do you not like in engineering? And someone asked me that when I was younger, and I was like, I don't know. It was like, well, you can get closer to what you do like by knowing what you don't like. And that was like a flip for me, like flip the whole thought process upside down for me. And that has really helped me, right? And so I knew I didn't like, I had some internships and stuff along the way, but I knew from those internships I didn't like whatever area that was or whatever remotely close to that. And so it helped guide me to where I wanted to be eventually, right? And so I think that's one of the things. And then also, one of my old professors used to say, you need to know what you know and know what you don't know. And so from the sense of know what you know and do it well, but then be humble enough to recognize what you don't know and ask questions, right? Figure out a way that you can gain more knowledge and use your knowledge to help you become a better engineer. So know what you know and know what you don't know. And I'll never forget that, man. It was in our Calculus 3 class, and it was a tough class for me per se, but
yeah.
But yeah, that was something that hit home, and I still remember it, and I still tell my kids that, and I tell younger engineers that: know what you know and know what you don't know, and then be humble enough to where you can be open to learning, right, from others. And the learning aspect, like, I feel like is what makes a great engineer is being a lifelong learner. Like, so I feel like a lot of us are like tinkerers, a lot of us are doers sometimes, but if you aren't continuously learning, you will end up lacking, right? And that won't necessarily grow your skills as an engineer, right? So always be open to learning. Learn from those that have more experience than you and those that don't, because you can always learn from fresh eyes, right? But then also just continue to have the mindset throughout life that I'm going to learn something new, something that's going to help benefit me and others.
Pick up that phone, get D. Taylor on the line, yeah. Ask him those questions, what you don't know, right?
Exactly, man.
Yeah. So what's one lesson that you've learned over the years that you're like, oh man, I wish I knew that earlier in engineering?
I think, honestly, man, it may sound cliche, but ask questions. Do not spin your wheels. Ask questions. Because believe it or not, the people that you work with, they want to help you. They truly want what's best for you. And so ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And sometimes we all, even now, right? So you may, I may, instead of picking up a phone call, I may spend an hour on something, an hour too long on something. We're not going to just call it and ask the question, right? So that's something that never goes away. Yes, it's beneficial to my younger self, but it's also still relevant to now, just from the sense of don't be afraid to ask questions. It helps you improve.
So we work to make a living, right? And a living encompasses all those things outside of work. So outside of work, what motivates and inspires you?
Working with the youth. I love working with kids. I love giving back to kids as much as possible. So from teaching them about STEM-related stuff, or cycling, teaching them how to fix their bikes, or just spending time with them. So I've worked alongside, volunteered with a couple nonprofits here. One in particular, take kids on bike rides, and then at the halfway point or at the end of the ride, we'll have what we call a healing circle, right? And so what we do is you sit down and talk, and a lot of times just letting them talk. So sometimes we'll separate the boys from the girls, or sometimes we'll have, if it's small enough, we'll have all of us together. But one, you never know how you can impact a kid's life and change the trajectory of their whole entire life. You just never know. And two, sometimes you need to get their perspective on life too. It could be beneficial for you too. And one example is we had a young lady. She was about 12 or 13 or so, and she hadn't ridden a bike since her father passed away during COVID. And so to get her back on the bike at the end of the ride, she was just bawling her eyes. I was like, what's wrong? I'm thinking that, we didn't do something right. But no, like, she was just so appreciative of the opportunity to ride a bike again. She hadn't done it since her father passed away. And so when that hit me, man, I went to the car and I started bawling my eyes out, man. It's like you never know how you can impact someone's life. And what I enjoy the most is like being out and about in the city, and there's a kid comes up, Mr. Warren, what's up, man? What's up? It's like, oh, man, it's good to see you. And I'm happy that I made an impression on you, that, you have a positive outlook on things, and not only things, but then also me. Like, I've been able to help you, and then when you see me, you smile and you're happy, right? I thoroughly enjoy giving back to our youth, man. And that's something I wish I could do more of. And one day I will do more of it.
It sounds like your career path could have gone completely differently had you not made certain choices, and had you not had that high school teacher who said the things that he did to
Yep.
you. Is that kind of why you're all about giving back to youth?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. Each one can teach one. And I just feel like there's so many kids out here that are going through various things in their life that we just don't have the information on. We're just not privy to. But if there's a way that you can help them, do that. Like, so I came from a low-income family. My mom worked multiple jobs, and I think one of the things that I learned later on in life was my education can change the trajectory of my family. And so now it's like when I talk to kids that don't have or wish they had, it's like, okay, so what are you doing to get there, right? And some kids have their own view of what it is for the sports or whatever, but a lot of times I have to stress them like, hey, it's your education. You don't have to be an engineer, but I would love it if you were an engineer, right? You can go be a pilot. You can go do this, and that, But all of it starts with your mind, right? And the more we strengthen our mind, the further we'll go. Like the old school rock songs, knowledge is power. I know what I know. Like literally the cliche song they had. But yeah, if we could take the time to just give back to some kid, whether that's your time. I think that's what kids want the most. What I've learned is your presence, your time, not the things. Yeah, the things will make them happy, the materials and all that stuff. But a lot of times kids just want your presence, time from you, and consistency. That's it. Just show up consistently, and you literally can impact the kid's life.
Absolutely. Well said. How can people get in contact with you if they see this podcast and are like, I want to hit that Warren guy up,
Yeah. So they can reach out to us, warren.lee@toriengineering.com. They could do that, or they can just go to our website, toriengineering.com, and you can find us, find some of the stuff that we're working on. And I love to talk to you. That's something I had to work on. I was not a talker.
Wow.
My wife got it out of me, man. My
Nice.
wife is definitely she's the one. She's my backbone, man. She's so awesome. And she helped me work on my communication because I was not a talker.
I would never guess that. No. And I don't think our listeners would guess that either.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. So that's how they can find me. Yeah, I mean, I'm always open to talk. I'm always open to go play some tennis, ride a bike, even some golf or something, man. Just whatever. If you want to take a walk down the Beltline, we could do that. I'm always open to hearing from others and seeing how I can help others.
All right. Well, Warren Lee III from Tori Engineering, it has been a pleasure having you on the Pulse Podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you
Thanks
so much.
Oh, you
I
bet.
appreciate you.
Thanks, Warren. And we'll see you next time on the Pulse Podcast from Wavetronics.